Usually I like to take a minute to go over a little bit about beer history. I don't know if anyone has seen some Discovery and Science Channel will have shows about beer throughout history and how beer has sort of created civilization. So I tend to believe that that's true, that we basically settled down mainly because of beer and bread too. The one show was claiming that beer came first and then bread came along. I tend to think it's the other way around, despite the fact that I like the idea that the beer came first. I think the bread came first, and beer was an outcropping of the bread making experience. So letting it steep longer, and then not to let that go to waste, they just drank it anyway, and then it's been with us ever since. There's other grains that can be used in brewing, although predominantly barley is the grain of choice, especially in most parts of the world, except for probably Africa, where barley doesn't grow very well. Then they tend to use sorghum. It makes a different kind of beer, but it still makes beer. It still gets the job done.
What kind of yeast are you using in this beer?
This one we're going to use a yeast that's an ale yeast. Okay, yeast is in two main families. There's ale yeast and there's lager yeast. They have a couple main differences. Ale yeasts like to ferment at room temperature, about 70 degrees. It varies a little bit depending on the strain. There are many different kinds of strains of yeast, and each one will contribute its own flavor in beer. So you want to select a yeast that will work well with the recipe you're looking for. In this case, we're going to be using specifically an American strain. It's the American ale strain. It's the same strain that, coincidentally, Sierra Nevada uses, which is not my planning, it just worked out that way. The American ale strain has this quality where it ferments the beer, but it doesn't produce a lot of other weird flavors. Some strains are known for producing what are called esters. They're very fruity on the nose. You smell them, it smells like there's some sort of vague fruit in there. You can't quite place what it is, but it smells fruity. The yeast produces that. So in this case, I think the optimal yeast is to use one that's neutral, that doesn't produce any esters, because pale ales and IPAs also are all about the hops. And I want to showcase the hops, so I want a yeast that's going to be in the background, not in the foreground, eclipsing the goodness from the hops.